I've made big changes in Platform Masters, and in Jeremy's house you can see that there's definitely something way different than what it had before. As usual, you've got the air taxis, houses, and all that other stuff along with cars, but these weren't here before, these photosynthesis factories, that is. Photosynthesis factories? It's just a silly name I call trees. Because, in a way, they're like a factory, because they undergo photosynthesis constantly, making use of ingredients such as light and, well, you get the idea. They make sugars. In this case, this is what I call the wide deciduous. It's nothing really special, other than I took it from what's known as the eastern cottonwood that came with arboro, which is how I got the trees in the first place, which also required pauvre to generate them with. But you get the basic idea there. Let's see, where's the next tree? This one right here is a sassafras. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce that. Get the text out of the way so you can more clearly see that. This is one of my favorite types of trees, although this isn't one of the better looking ones in the bunch that I have available. And this one's my top favorite of them all. Look how tiny Jeremy Kaplan himself is. Compared to this big tree. This is the weeping willow that you saw earlier on, in case you're wondering on that. I just love the way that detail just came out. And here's another weeping willow at a slightly farther distance. Not much farther, but as you can tell, the trunk right here is not joining in with this because it's just slightly farther out to kind of offset that. And there's another one of those wide deciduous type trees. I'm not exactly sure what the species is on that. Of course, these trees themselves are not the only changes I made. I'm going to make use of the spring here to suddenly stop. Yeah, you can get crazy fast in this game and then some. Up above, well, you can see plenty of trees going on and on and on. But there's another change that I made. Remember how this used to have the city here and then there used to be a city over here, pretty much exactly the same? Well, I increased the repeat width to, I think it's now 32 kiloblocks. Remember, the spacing between here over to here is 1 kiloblock. That's quite the difference. Just to show you the idea, I'm going to really crank up the altimeter. And in addition to that, I now also have the finalized forest textures to go with it. Of course, I jumped up a little too high, but at least you can see the coast more clearly. There's a lot of detail here. Max out the speed. There's an air taxi going by. And over here is Yurisin, as I call it. And somewhere around here is Yurisin Beach, which I think was this right here. You can see the farm fields ending. There's some forests and ponds. All that's nothing new, but the farm fields have been updated. Here's a big forest. You can see shadows being cast. You can see highways, freeways, and all that other stuff. Nothing really new there, but you can see just how big this has gotten. Just to give you the idea from a lower vantage point. And that's pretty much it for World 1. You can see a lot of freeway interchanges over here. Ronus also has some of the same changes as Jeremy's house, just with some slight differences. For one, you can see the trees are plentiful as usual. The weeping willows, the wide deciduouses, and the sassafrases. Really nothing special there. There's the benches and there's nothing new. These signs I have yet to work on, the advertisement signs and that one classified thing that I have yet to deal with. In addition, here's another one of those weeping willows that's just came out so amazingly nice. I'm really impressed with just how well these things came out, don't you think? Make use of that to come to an abrupt stop. And in the far areas, there's not really that much of a difference, but I did make some changes. At first, it don't look like there's anything different here at all, But trust me, there is something different. I've redesigned the ground decals so that I've optimized them. They now take up slightly less memory. Now, of course, it may seem like it's a little bit more because of the fact I've added the trees in, but there is actually a fair reduction over there. Ranessa plants has changed quite a bit as well, although I haven't updated the rain like I was intending on, which is something for later. I did at least add in the trees, but as you can tell, there are some slight alignment issues that I need to deal with here and there, but you can definitely clearly see plenty of tree details over here, and there's a new type of tree mixed in with all these. What is that new type? Well, that new type, if I can get into a decent position for that, is this one right here. This is the eastern cottonwood, and it is the game's tallest trees of them all. A monster 40 meters tall, or 140 feet if I remember the numbers. But yeah, and this isn't even in the foreground area. It goes up here, way up to here, and multiply that by 1.25, and there you have it. That's a really big tree when you think about it. Of course, I need to get over to this platform so I can go up to show you, hey, what do you know, the Keverin River there has been updated accordingly so that it's now varied. I've worked on the ground decals quite a bit, in case you're wondering on that. Just to show you, I once had a bridge over this river, but I rejected that feature since I didn't really like it that much. What are these odd details over here? These are actually tents and picnic tables. If you look very closely, you can see picnic tables out in the middle of nowhere. I think that's one right there, but it's so difficult to see because it's pretty foggy for one. And if I can get into just the right area, here's a pretty clear view of those. Here's a really densely packed area, and there's definitely plenty of picnic tables out there. They're very hard to see simply because they're like a half a pixel or so. But if they're grouped up enough, yeah, it does have an effect on the color to a noticeable extent. Welcome to the Organic Industrial Center of Photosynthesis, aka a forest. Since I consider a single tree a photosynthesis factory, and there are literally over 40,000 unique trees here, yes, over 40,000, it makes for a pretty big industrial center, wouldn't you think? You can clearly see the palm trees here, and another one here. There's this weird looking one here, plenty more in the far background, not to mention the cars that are constantly going by. To see this in motion, well, you're in for a big treat, I'll tell you. Isn't this such an amazing world? It's one of my greatest masterpieces. I'm really amazed how nicely this came out to be. Here you can kind of see into the area where the road is a little bit better, considering there's a little gap hidden behind the trees here, and there's that maglev freight train going by. And I need that platform because I want to go up, or I don't necessarily need it, but it is the basic idea. Because, well, there's another detail I want to show you. It's a little difficult to see, but if I jump up a little bit and get into the right position, you can see right in there, there's actually a little beach right in there. Get a little higher up, and there it is. You can see the beaches along the Tigram River. And the Tigram River, of course, is also varied quite a bit. Even higher up, well, there's not really too much to see besides a huge endless span of trees. Just jumping up this again and again and again, you can see just how vast this monster of a jungle is. Yeah, jungle. I'm actually considering renaming this world from Keverin Forest into Keverin Jungle. I'm leaning mostly against it though, but it is the basic idea, however. But since I want to go back down again, yes, that was deliberate, I'm going to go back up so I can show you the upper reaches. Just look how far out these trees go. Man, that just goes on and on and on. Okay, there's no trees there. There's no trees there either. I was originally intending on putting in ground decals in here to kind of fill in these gaps, but I kind of had to reject it because I was getting awfully close to that memory limit that I have. That's about 91.5 megabytes in case you're wondering. But really far up, there's nothing really to see. However, still, it's definitely an amazing view and then some. I'll say that much for sure. Up here, I was also originally planning on putting in a coastline of sorts over here, but the fog is so dense you're not really going to see it too easily. Yeah, that was an air taxi going by incredibly fast. Pretty much almost the speed of sound horizontally. And that's what a forest looks like going by at the speed of sound. Just to give you another idea from another slightly higher vantage point. Such an amazing view. I just love the way this came out. It's probably one of my best masterpieces along with Carnivalesta, wouldn't you think? You remember Carnivalesta, right? Just to remind you. Here's Carnivalesta. All those rich details that I put in with that. Not to mention the glittering lights and stuff that come so nice. Anyway, next. I've made a few changes at the Centris Mountains, but that's primarily with the forests in the background where the ground decals are. And before I forget about that feature, I'm going to make use out of this. I think it was around 800K, so I think that should be it. Make use of trying to come to a stop here carefully, but also quickly. Yeah, I'm picking up speed now. I'm slamming on the brakes. But I'm very close. Yep, that's what I thought. If you look here, you can see that the forest is kind of glittering there. And right in there, you can see that rest area that was forested, but here you can almost resolve the individual trees if you look closely enough. It's not quite there, but it's very close. You remember those trees in Maglev Train, right? Well, this is quite the huge difference now. Of course, these are just placeholders for what's actually going to be done, because right now they just infinitely loop. But the basic idea is pretty much the only thing I was really after here, just to kind of demonstrate what these are like. Those, by the way, are my spruce trees that I have. Getting higher up, you can quite clearly see all the richer details that are present. Of course, near the ground level, you can see all the traffic zipping by as usual. Semis, cop cars, school buses, trucks, ambulances, motorcycles, you name it, it's there. But that's not really my focus. I've covered that in a previous video. My focus instead is on those trees right there. Pretty neat, isn't it? And yes, that was deliberate, because I just want to go up. Not much to see up here, though, however. Mount Santusia. You're probably thinking that there's really nothing different about this world, but trust me, there's quite a bit different about it. After all, it don't look like there's anything different. Well, it turns out that with the old ground decal system I had a whole bunch of transparency off this way and a whole bunch off this way. I redesigned the drawing routine of the ground decals, and now it's just drawing from there to there, not bothering to draw anything there, except for the lava ground decal, obviously. I'm referring to these lava islands. But the basic idea is still the same. Like this one here, for example. 98% memory reduction, just from this alone. Now that is a monster. You probably noticed from the 5-year anniversary video where I show this, where I have the, memory usage shown. Look at it now. It's one of the lowest memory usage worlds that I have available. Of course, the upper area doesn't look anything different, but there is something different, which is also present in the Santis Mountains. Remember those forest textures that I had in the ground decals? Oh yeah, they are now textured. That's really about the only real difference that I had. Moose and Taiga sure looks a lot different now, doesn't it? It's actually pretty close to about what I was expecting to see as well, except for these quaking aspens which don't really belong, and I think these trunks are a little too big for the tree, so I might want to cut that down a little bit by maybe 25%, which does mean the fact that they're also the slowest generating trees. I need to update that too, and rework a lot of these, but as you can tell here, a lot of this is kind of about the same as many of the other cases, except that some further work is actually still needed on this, such as extending the range, but I just wanted to show you the basic idea I had planned on for this particular world. Lots and lots of spruce trees, just as I was planning on. They're like evergreens in a sense. And I did make some really good change on this one, but you're probably going to have to wait until the release of Platform Masters, plus about a week, before you see this one. The same goes for this one as well, for which I have actually made progress on this one as well, regarding trees at least. This video was created by Ulillillia. Thank you for watching.